Silent Hill. Spoiler. Flipping spoilers. Flipping spoilers for Silent. Flipping spoilers for Silent Flipping Hill.
This is Diabolical, the comedy podcast where four long-suffering friends dissect films' most dastardly schemes, then compete to improve them. I'm your host, Gaz, and this week we are covering 2006's psychological horror and video game adaptation, Silent Hill. So, Peril Pals, try not to accidentally die and have your eternal soul be transported to a horrific purgatory. I'm gonna have this running joke polished up nice and shiny for next time, I promise. And let's get diabolical! Hello, and welcome to this week's pod, wherein these lead pipe-wielding scavenger hunters and I comprise the panel of peril, who will compete to see who can improve the villainous plan of the week the best, to earn points for our leaderboard in the show's competitive round. But first, if you could tell the Peril Pals listening out there in podcast land your names, and fill me in on your all-time favourite video game area or level. And we'll begin with Super Dude.
Hey, Peril Pals, Super Dude here. And my favourite all-time video game area, sadly, it's not a survival horror one, although I am a big survival horror fan. Not as big as Gas, though.
Oh, no. Oh, my no.
I should have looked up the name of it because I haven't played it for a long time, but the Banjo-Kazooie level, that's a tree. And every time you go into it, it's a different season. And the music changes depending on the season. It's always the same tune, but it's arranged differently. And when you go in winter, there's snowman baddies that pelt you with snowballs.
Bastards.
When you go in summer, there's bees guarding their honey. It's such a brilliantly constructed level. The whole game is full of brilliant levels, but that one's always been a favourite of mine. I do like a platform game when it's well constructed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I never really played Banjo-Kazooie except for briefly at your house back in the day. It's not out on PlayStation, is it?
It's on Switch now. It's on,
is it?
Yeah, you can get it on the N64 emulator that's on Switch. And Banjo-Tooie has just dropped this week on that, which I never got to play on the N64 because I was too poor back in those days.
Good to know on both counts. And next, let's hear from Ben.
Hi guys, Ben here. And my favourite level, it's not really a level, it's from Breath of the Wild, the Zelda game that launched when the Switch launched. It's where you go up a mountain and there's a plink? What's a plink? A pink cherry blossom tree at the top of this mountain.
Oh, yeah.
And there's like a pond. But at certain points in the game, in a certain moonlight, there's a lot of like kind of spirit creatures. And you come up and you sneak up and you go through this crevasse and you watch these animals. And it's almost like you're viewing something you shouldn't. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
The whole atmosphere, the music, it's just gorgeous.
Did you stick around long enough to see the big one?
Yeah.
The Lord of the Mountain.
Oh, I caught the big one and I rode the big one. I rode the big one down the mountain.
You can ride the Lord down the mountain, yeah.
Good stuff. And finally, apart from me, obviously, saving the best for last, but finally, apart from me, let's hear from Adam.
Ahoy, hoy, Peril Pals, it's me, Adam. I'm torn between two, but I'm going to go for the first one that springs to mind. It's not really a level. It's when you can finally use the rocket launcher against Nemesis in Resident Evil 3.
Yeah.
It's just...
Smashing.
It's lovely. Sort of a bucket list item fulfilled, isn't it, really? Being able to use a rocket launcher. And back in the day, there wasn't many games when there was rocket launchers involved, so it was quite a novelty. But it's like, up until that point, Nemesis is horrible, isn't he? You got to run
Yeah.
every time you hear stars. You're like, oh God! But then this time you go, ah! He goes, ugh.
It's like Buffy with the judge, isn't it? What's that do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just decks him.
A weapon forged.
Yeah. Great.
And as for me, similar to Adam, but mine is the opening village in Resident Evil 4. I can just remember it step for step, go through the gate, look through the binoculars, cop is burning on the pyre, go forwards, go left, there's a woman with a back turned to you at the dirty well, knife her in the back, carry on going around, pick up a chicken egg. I know it off by heart. In the original version, this is not the remake. It's just brilliant. Ufai rupi razus. It's so good. I played it over and over and over again in uni. Back in the days when you could afford to buy one game a year.
Yeah.
And I've probably completed that game over 20 times, I would imagine, as a result.
Wait, someone say something funny so we can end it.
And so I said, if this is the house of pancakes, how come I can't eat the walls?
Silent Hill, directed by Christophe Gans, is based on the popular video game series from Konami. The story follows Rose de Silva, played by Radha Mitchell, who takes her adopted daughter Sharon to the mysterious town of Silent Hill to uncover the reason behind Sharon's recurring nightmares. Upon arriving, Rose is separated from Sharon and trapped in the eerie, fog-covered town, where she encounters terrifying creatures and discovers the dark history of Silent Hill, a place haunted by a cult led by the mysterious Christabella, as played by erstwhile Borg Queen Alice Krieg, and assaulted by a supernatural entity named Alessa. Following one step behind is Rose's husband Christopher, as played by Sean Bean. Although visually, musically, and creature designingly having very strong links to the video games, the story does bear resemblance to the inaugural game's plotting, but with a change in the protagonist among other alterations. The film was released on April 21st, 2006 in the US and received mixed to negative reviews from critics, with praise for its visuals and atmosphere, but criticism for its plot and pacing. Despite the lukewarm reception, Silent Hill was a moderate financial success, grossing $100.6 million worldwide against a production budget of around $50 million, and spawned a truly dreadful sequel named Revelations 3D, based upon the game Silent Hill 3. After laying dormant for over a decade, the Silent Hill franchise has returned in style with Bloober Team's excellent remake of fan-favourite Silent Hill 2, currently a PlayStation 5 exclusive, and a new film from the original team. Christophe Gans and the team have already shot Return to Silent Hill, which promises to tell the same story as the Silent Hill 2 game, and though a teaser trailer has been released, no release date or even distributor is known as yet. But enough of that malarkey. Let's hear what the panel thought of the film, shall we, boys and girls?
Yay!
And we're going to start with my boy, Ben.
Yay! I hadn't seen this before. And so, obviously, I knew it was based on the video game, which I hadn't played. So I knew pretty much nothing about it. I knew it was a bit of a Resident Evil derivative, perhaps. That was about it. So I went in with quite a blank slate. And I thought, conceptually, it's really quite an interesting film. I think like the atmosphere that the movie creates is genuinely unsettling throughout. You're always kind of on your toes. But the story just feels too convenient, doesn't it? Everything feels unearned. And I wondered if that's maybe because in a game, and this might be a broader issue with adapting video games, maybe in a game, between plot reveals, you do quite a lot of work yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But in a film, you're not going to watch someone fucking walk into a wall for 10 hours. And so I think you lose that, that earned feeling of the reveal. And so they just keep lining up, knocking them down like dominoes, and just feels a bit cheap. It's a bit of a shame. I did enjoy it for what it was. I don't think it's the best film I've ever seen. So overall, I give it visit Silent Hill for its chilling concepts and truly terrifying monsters. but don't expect it to feature in any top 10 lists, unless it's a top 10 list of mediocre clag.
Oh, what's that out of?
And that's out of 5.
Oh, 5. Wow. Next, let's hear from Adam.
Well, I did enjoy it, and I was surprised because I remember watching it years ago and not enjoying it at all. And I was thinking, oh, I'm going to have to watch this again. But for some reason, I did enjoy it. It was an odd experience.
Never enjoyed a film before.
Yeah, but I was convinced I wasn't going to like it, and then I more than enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a bit, like a little bit above, a notch above enjoyed. So, yeah, so I was quite surprised. I thought most of the CGI held up quite well, apart from in a couple of places. The first little the body thing that walks towards her without any arms doesn't look particularly brilliant, but I think it's quite a lot of the other stuff does, to be honest. I thought it was quite good.
Was that CG? Were they all dancers?
I think the nurses definitely were. I'm not sure about they're called lying figures. They're in like a straitjacket made of their own skin, those creatures. Not sure.
But it's the first thing that comes at her on the road, and the cop is there as well and just shoots at it and stuff. That was about the worst thing there. And I was like, well, if that was the worst one, that could easily be forgiven. Everything else looks really good, and particularly towards the end. I thought maybe some of the end sequence might look a bit ropey, but it really doesn't. I thought it looked really, really good. I agree with what Ben said there. I think it's quite hard to stay interested where you're not doing the work yourself and you're the one who's getting it, because it was kind of, I didn't really know 100% what was happening. And it's not quite as scary as if you're the one who's making the decisions to go here and there. And then it is like, why the hell would you go to this place anyway? And then when those kids start coming at you, you'd just be like running, wouldn't you? I forgot Laurie Holden was in it and as a sexy cop. So I was like, oh, I always like her anyway. She's one of my favourites. Radha Mitchell does an all right job. She just shouts Sharon a lot, really.
Pretty much.
It was a bit of an Ozzy Osbourne impression, wasn't it? Sharon! Sharon!
Yeah, or Randy Marsh. Sharon! Hey, Sharon! Hey, Sharon! Come see this, Sharon! What else? Have I made any particular notes? Oh, Sean Bean is dreadful. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, it's not great.
Oh, that accent. My God.
He is. It's got to be one of his worst roles ever. He was dreadful. He was so bad. But on the whole, yes, I would watch it again because I think there's a lot of good horror bits in it as well, which I'm sure we'll get onto in a little while.
Interesting if true. Now let's hear from Super Dude.
My main issue with it is it's not much fun. It's kind of relentless, grisly horror without the fun elements that could lift that.
What, you saying Christobella's not a laugh a minute?
No, not really. Just none of it is. There's some moments in it that you think will be a lot of fun, like the nurses, and there are some bits in it that are fun, and we'll come to that in our favourite bits later on. But yeah, it just feels a bit dated in some particular ways. It feels a bit like that era. I think one of the reasons for this is the cast. So I'm a fan of Laurie Holden as well. I think X-Files probably the first thing I saw her in. But in this, she's like a kind of a cross between the sexy gym instructor from Police Academy and an actual video game character. She even moves like a video game character.
Yeah, the hips.
The way she stands and holds herself and stuff. And I think it achieves probably what it sets out to pretty well. It does feel like the video game, and I did enjoy it. Like, I would watch it again. But yeah, it's not one I'm going to be jumping for. I think just because there's that missing fun element that you get with the best horrors. And I'm not saying like comedy horror or that it has to be funny or anything like that. Just sometimes the horror will have an element of enjoyment to it, and this one doesn't have a lot of that. But yeah, the other piece of casting that really dates this for me is the creepy little kid who was Lana Lang's dead friend on Smallville. And I think for that reason, I couldn't disassociate the style and the production of it from that era of like WB TV. It felt like a feature-length WTV episode.
But you clearly haven't seen the sequel recently, if that's what you think of the first film.
I haven't seen the sequel at all. Yeah, I never saw it.
I happened upon it on YouTube a couple of days ago and thought I might as well watch it before recording. Oh, what a piece of shit.
You wouldn't recommend it then?
No.
Would you prefer it, Super Dude, if Sean Bean had just slipped on a banana skin? Would that have lightened things up for you?
No, as I say, it's not comedy that I was looking for. It's like, well, when we get to our favourite parts and I tell you mine, I think you'll understand that I wanted more of that, and that is what I consider fun when I'm watching a horror film.
He's teasing us there, guys. He's really teasing us.
Yeah, but I think Alice Krige was great, and I really rate her anyway.
I was like, who's that? I can't remember. She's so familiar. And then when I looked her up, I was like, it's the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Blushings from the Borg Queen.
I'd give a more favourable review to Radha Mitchell because I thought she was pretty good, actually. And it's quite a demanding role.
I think she struggles with poor dialogue, as most people do. Well, I picked this week's film based on being, at that time, in the process of playing the Silent Hill 2 remake and having since finished it. I can tell you, I'd just play it. It's so good. But anyway, that's the first Silent Hill game that I've played, is this remake. And I think we went to see this film in the cinema, as I recall.
Yeah.
And I've always liked it. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's just an aesthetic thing I like. When we come to our favourite sequences, you'll maybe illuminate more what I mean. But I just like the feel of the town itself. There's something, despite its kind of quite fantastical trappings with the monsters being quite outlandish, there's a real element of verisimilitude to it.
Yeah.
With the fog, which is obviously predicated on being based on Centralia, the real town, with the coal mine burning forever underneath it.
That's our second film that's based on that, right?
Yeah.
Nothing But Trouble with Jesse Hawken. Very good episode. Go back and listen to that one, Peril Pals.
Yeah, do it.
The human characters aren't particularly interesting, say for Alice Kriege's Christabella in this film, I don't think. But the monster designs, just ripped straight from the game, are brilliant. Pyramid Head is such an iconic monster.
Yeah.
He's so well realised in this as well. It's a shame he's not around very much.
Yeah, I mean, assuming they follow Silent Hill 2, the game, as closely as they seem to be for the new film, he's going to be in the next one a lot.
Yeah, because he's your buddy in the second one, kind of like Arnie in Terminator 2. And he's like...
He's more like the little fairy that Link has that goes, listen!
Look! Listen!
Yeah, and the other creatures, like we were talking about, the lying figures, who are like the kind of vaguely feminine figures that are straight jacketed into their own skin. That's such a weird concept and design. It's brilliant. And the bobble-headed nurses who react to movement, all really quite different. Like, you couldn't see these creatures being in something like Resident Evil.
That's too weird, isn't it?
Yeah, they're quite odd. I'm really excited for the next film coming out because there's even more outlandish creatures in the game that I'm assuming will be featured.
What I really like about the creatures, I haven't played the original Silent Hill either, but in the film at least, they're all manifestations of the trauma that happened to the town. So the nurses are a manifestation of the nurse who was involved in, harming the girl.
Yeah.
So I think that's why you get these cool, interesting characters in this, is that they're strange because they're not... Like in Resident Evil, the biohazards are like scientific horrors. What a scientist would try and cook up when they're trying to make a warrior.
Big alligator, big scorpion.
Yeah, big spider.
Big bat.
Shark with legs.
Yeah.
Whereas in Silent Hill, it's obviously a demonic manifestation, so it can be all the stranger. And I do appreciate that, but I'm not really sure what Pyramid Head's meant to be, though.
Well, it gets taken a step further in Silent Hill 2.
Pyramid legs?
A very, very personal story that kind of stands alone outside of the continuity of the other games, which I've since discovered. Oh, it's so fucking good. But Pyramid Head, essentially, he was the town executioner back in the 1800s.
So the trauma of Silent Hill goes back further than the events.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's no masterpiece, but it's one of those films like Johnny Mnemonic, which we covered earlier on this season. Like, I know it's not a great film, but I love it. I could watch it probably once a year quite happily and enjoy it every time. And even down to the use, again, straight from the game, the use of the air raid siren to signal the
Yeah,
onward
that's
darkness.
good. I like that.
I've always hated the sound of an air raid siren, presumably just because of what it connotates, what's coming. But just, it makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end anytime I hear one. It's just an awful, awful sound.
It's very evocative, yeah.
It's discordant as well.
Yeah.
What I didn't enjoy was, I think they ripped the music straight out of the video game as well.
Yes.
Because it just doesn't sync with everything, I didn't think. I loved all the other little bits, but it was just the music I just felt it felt like it was for a film made 10 years earlier or something like that.
Yeah, that I agree with that. I made that note as well. It feels a little bit too slavish to the video game. Between that, the way that Laurie Holden stands and moves, the perfect realization of the creatures, it all made me think of like that. This is kind of what I was trying to say earlier, that sort of early 2000s era of like the MTV movie where everybody was like, the MTV Movie Awards meant more to like teenage moviegoers than the Oscars, for example, for a period there. I don't think that's true any longer, but you get this kind of raft of movies coming out at that time that feel like this. But also, I did enjoy this, and yeah, if you were like, do you want to watch it? I'd be like, yeah, let's watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it once, probably about 2 weeks ago, I would say, before this recording, and I watched it again today. I think it's good. I'd say it's the best video game adaptation. I know that's damning with faint praise, but that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
I think that's fair. What have we had to compete with it? Maybe Sonic. That's all right.
Welcome to Raccoon City.
I fucking hate the Resident Evil movies.
Yeah, but Welcome to Raccoon City is like shot for shot.
It's much better than the others.
Yeah, it's really good.
I obviously quite like live action Super Mario Bros. Movie, but I think I'm the only one.
Very much so.
Yeah, mine will be sold on eBay come Sunday night. My Umbrella Edition. 15 people watching it, so I'm expecting to fetch a high price. Okay, well, shall we move on to our favourite sequences? And we are due to begin with Adam.
It's old Pyramid Head skinning Anna.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
That's a beaut.
That's the fun moment I was talking about.
Oh, it's great. There's some other bits after that as well, which are brilliant, but it's just that bit. It's you're not expecting that at all. And it's just like,
just sort of grabs a clump of skin by the chest and twists it off her entire body,
and he just pulls it in, and I was like, yes.
Slams it against the church door.
Oh, it's so good. Loved it.
Yeah, no, that is an absolute corker.
Underneath that, my note says some of the CG looks like nightmare quality.
Oh, that's harsh. Oh. Next then, let's...
This is an even better note. Because I watched this a few weeks ago. I refuse to believe Sean Bean is firing blanks.
I simply won't have it.
I cannot suspend my disbelief.
Next, let's hear from Super Dude.
Well, it was that, the Pyramid Head undressing, shall we call it? But I also, we've touched on it already, I think the scene where Radha Mitchell has to weave between the nurses who can't see her but are aware of her presence is great. It's paced really well. It's tense. It's creepy. I was aroused.
He had everything.
It had everything, yeah. And the way she tricks them into killing each other, like the Weeping Angels in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
When they trick them into looking at each other. That was great. So yeah, I'll go with that as well. I'll tell you my least favourite thing that happened in this as well. Because I thought it was just stupid as fuck.
Go on.
Laurie Holden's cop trying to get the acid spewing, no armed, no face monster to freeze. Stop right there. You
thing. Can you hear me?
Me?
Do you speak English?
She's talking to me.
put your hand, just stop, just freeze.
This is what I do. She can't persecute me for this.
A lot of her decisions throughout were odd. Like, why did she sacrifice herself outside the elevator? Why didn't she just get in?
Yeah.
I'll hold them off. What? Just get in the elevator?
No need.
Let's hear Ben's food.
The best ones have been taken already. So I'll go for another pyramid head scene, and that's when the blade comes through the door. They're in that kind of tight, I don't know what it is, tight area beneath the building. The giant blade comes through the door. It's pretty scary.
Yeah. He's got a big old sword, hasn't he? Big old sword.
Yeah.
It's like some kind of air conditioning room, isn't it? Like sort of some units.
Right, yeah. Yeah, some maintenance area, isn't it? But it's really tight, and the blade's kind of inches away from them. It's really good.
I think I'd probably die in that situation. I haven't got the reflexes to dodge out of the way of a humongous sword, unfortunately.
Yeah. Maybe we should put it on social media like people do, where they put, what are you doing in this situation? And it's astronauts on the moon when the Earth explodes and crashes into the moon. What the fuck do you think I do? I die.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Run out of oxygen, or float off into space and run out of oxygen.
Or like it's POV, you're on an aeroplane and the aeroplane rips in half. And it's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Well, I die, don't I?
Yeah.
I
I can't fly, so...
I land in the jungle and a golden retriever licks me and wakes me up.
And says, what are you worried about?
My favourite sequence, I'm going to go for the grand finale, where Alessa makes a grand entrance, the girl that the cult burnt at the stake who didn't die, and she rises up on her hospital bed and just absolutely rips everybody to shreds with barbed wire, gives a strange little smile to Rose as she does so. It's quite satisfying, isn't it? That kind of bloody righteous vengeance that works quite well in horror films.
Yeah, it's like Carrie on a huge budget.
Is that the sequel to Carry On Camping?
Yeah, like the end to Candyman that we covered in season 1.
Yeah.
Version of Candyman. Just deeply satisfying. Some nice gore in there. Seeing Christabella get essentially crucified by barbed wire up in the air. It's good stuff.
Just before that, Radha Mitchell's character, Rose, she does well to recognise the burnt corpse of the police officer, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Identifies her by her dental records.
Yeah.
That's why in the first scene she smiles and her gold tooth glistens.
And then use the tooth as a door key later on to escape from the place.
We getting scammed by a police officer.
Any favourite lines? I'm going to begin with Super Dude.
No, none. I haven't written any.
Fair.
Poor dialogue.
Yeah. It's strange because it's written by Roger Avery, who has pretty good pedigree for snappy dialogue.
Yeah, I guess Quentin Tarantino provided all the dialogue for Pulp Fiction. I couldn't tell you any of my favourite lines from Rules of Attraction, but I'm sure if there are any, they come from the book.
Yeah, true. I haven't seen it in many years, so that might be due a rewatch. Well, okay then, let's see if Adam has any favourite lines.
No.
Oh, damn. Damn. We are flubbing big style here.
Oh, have I got another favourite part to make up for that? No, I don't. Sorry.
No.
I think we've talked all about them.
GTF out of it. Okay, Ben.
I've got loads,
Ah, good.
but all ironic. I mentioned earlier where she's prancing around the town going, Sharon, like Ozzy Osbourne on acid. There's just loads of shit lines like, listen to me, she's ill. She sleepwalks. What? Is that a thing? But my super uber favourite line is, burn her as a witch.
There's a weird.
I like that they had to specify. For different kind of burnings.
That's one they keep going back to, don't they? About 3 or 4 times. Burn her? Yeah, burn her. Yeah.
It was specifically burn her as a witch, just because it made me think that they've got other kinds of burnings.
Yeah.
You could be burnt as a doctor, burnt as a bad student, burnt as a virgin,
Burnt as a badger.
burnt as a badger.
Burnt as a piece of toast.
Okay. Nothing sadder than burnt piece of toast, is there?
A burnt crumpet,
Yeah.
perhaps, because they are very hard to burn. So if you burn a crumpet, you've really not paid attention at all, have you?
That's like a good 8 minutes to burn a crumpet, I reckon.
There's the quote. Say, Gaz, what was your favourite line?
Well, it's funny you ask. I actually didn't write any down during both viewings of the film. So I went on IMDb for favourite quotes, and they were all shit too. So the one that I copied and pasted from IMDb is from Alessa, and she says, "When you're hurt and scared for so long, the fear and pain turn to hate, and the hate starts to change the world."
Well, I've also got a one from IMDb.
No, that's not allowed.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's an evergreen sentiment you're going to enjoy. It's, "Fuck you, you stupid cop."
Is that really on IMDb? And
Yeah.
Dialogue. In Silent Hill, super conservative Brethren cult leader Christabella leads her rabble of fuck-headed Marga into a literal witch hunt, burning a young child named Alessa at the stake for possessing benign psychic powers. This has 2 unfortunate side effects. Firstly, the fire spreads underground to the mines deep beneath Silent Hill, creating an everlasting inferno that sees a constant gentle rain of ash cover the town, as well as a foggy smoke cloud that obscures vision. Secondly, due to Alessa's survival of her burning and her burning desire for vengeance, monsters are created from her experiences: bobble-headed nurses, lying figures, pyramid head, and whatnot. In a quest to kill off the Brethren, Christabella's answer to all of this? Burn some more witches, of course, namely Sharon and Police Lady Sybil. But just how smart is that plan, I wonder? And we'll begin with, let's say, I don't know, Ben.
Yeah, it's not one of the best plans we've witnessed.
No.
Burning witches will only solve so many of your problems. It's like, right, in France, I think the first one was recorded in about the 13th century. They used to put pigs on trial and all kinds of animals. There's a story where a mother pig was put on trial alongside her piglets for killing a 5-year-old boy, but the piglets were let off because they couldn't prove the piglet's involvement in the murder.
Yeah.
But they hanged the pig.
Bloody hell.
I just think it doesn't get to the root of the problem.
It's no different now, really, is it?
No, hey, satire.
It's chatire. We're chatting and we're angry, thus we have ire.
So yeah, I just think Christabella, there's so many more things she could have done.
One-hit wonder, wasn't she? She's the Wigfield of demonic plans.
All she's getting from me is one floret of ash-covered broccoli.
Oh my God.
Dee-dee-dee-da. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Burn the witch. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Burn the witch.
Saturday night.
And the
I like
air is
the way
getting
you
hot.
move.
Burn a witch.
Okay, let's hear from Adam his thoughts on Christabella's spooky plan.
It's like opening a box of Cadbury's milk tray and finding out there's all slugs inside instead of delicious chocolates.
A common problem.
A common problem. If like me, you get your Cadbury's milk tray.
From the garden.
Stalmer's Britain, isn't it? Stalmer's Britain.
So yeah, not very nice. Not very nice.
And Super Dude, what say you?
Well, it's successful, isn't it? Because the town is banished of evil at the end. And I think what you've got to remember is it's God's plan, isn't it? So, it's immaculate. Can't fault it, really.
Well, this is true. This is true. I'm going to go the opposite way to you, though, and say that it's actually shit. just doing the exact same thing that got you into the trouble in the first place. Putting fire out by putting more fire onto it. Dump a load of fire on it with your fire bucket.
As Ken Dodd said, fight fire with fire. That's what my dad used to say. Until he got fired from the police service. The fire service. And that's why Ken Dodd was the master.
So close.
It's a pyromaniac in the police service.
All in the delivery, isn't it?
Before we move on to the down-home country cooking competitive round, we'd like to thank you for listening to our show so far. Please subscribe, leave us a written review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts if you can. It is the best platform to help us grow the podcast, and you Peril Pals are an important part of that process. Diabolical is a completely independent podcast, and a written review will net us many new listeners as it boosts our visibility on Apple's charts, which is the largest podcast platform out there. So please take a minute to write a few words and help spread the good word about the show. If you aren't on Apple, rate us on your provider of choice and follow us on socials at DiabolicalPod. Now that's good eating. We have arrived at the section of the show where the panel of Peril compete for precious Peril points on the Perilist leaderboard. Each member gets 1 vote, which will equal 1 point on the board. But do remember, you cannot vote for yourself, you saucy babies. Our task this week is, as Christabella, to repel the darkness from Silent Hill for good by any means at your disposal. Now, let's do this! Let's begin this week with... I'm just going to go alphabetical. Let's go Adam.
Fight fire with fire. That's what people say. Nobody says fight fire with water, or possibly a CO2, foam, or dry powder extinguisher. In my mind, that makes more sense. However, these sayings haven't been around for decades without them carrying a certain amount of water, or in this case, fire. Or in my plant case, darkness with darkness. There are other darknesses that are infinitely more accessible and easier to get along with. Whilst gathering the church, hiding from the darkness, and warming themselves by a fire that does not need fighting, but has the potential to cause a bigger fire if not appropriately managed by a suitably trained individual, the congregation watch cable TV. They've started rerunning one of the most talked about and riveting TV shows of the early 21st century. This is one of Christabella's favourites, featuring the original Prince of Darkness himself, the Blizzard of Oz, Ozzy Osbourne. Yes, the Osbournes finished a year ago, but Purgatory, Silent Hill can't get enough. And wasn't Ozzy always shouting, "Sharon!" all the time too? That gives Christabella an idea. They build a fire and hold hands and start chanting, "Oh, Prince of Darkness, Godfather of heavy metal, subjectively, bless us with your divine presence and rid us of this darkness. Be our fire to fight the fire. Sharon, Sharon, Sharon!" A figure shuffles out with the flames. "What the fucking hell am I doing here? You just serving me, Sharon!" says an agitated Ozzy. Christabella explains the story and passes Ozzy an hors d'oeuvre of a still-alive bat burrito and a laundry box full of cocaine to snack on. Pleased with these offerings, Ozzy stalks outside, screaming, "Sharon!" as his wings sprout from his back and quadruples in size. "All aboard!" he adds. High on gear and demonic power, a lesser, barbed wire girl of nightmares is no match the ceremoniously aroused Dark Wizard of Oz. All aboard his crazy train. There are no more tears for this dreamer as Ozzy barks at the moon in victory.
Oh, that's a song, isn't it? Barks at the Moon.
I think there's a few songs thrown in there, unless I'm being a bit paranoid.
There's a few song titles in there, fella.
I don't think there was. Just the one.
No, you're wrong.
You me congregation, and I love you to the end of the earth, but you're all fucking mad.
That was one of my first notes was, fucking hell, there's a lot of Sharons in this. It's either Ozzy or bloody Randy Marsh. And I was like,
Phil Mitchell.
Oh, yeah, Phil Mitchell, but I don't think he shouts Sharon. He's more hoarsely whispers it, doesn't he?
Sharon.
Fucking hell, where's my whiskey?
Given the size of the creature, the Aussie bat creature, so I'm presuming he's like a human-sized bat. He's not like Dracula turning into a little bat.
But
He quadruples in size.
How maneuverable is he going to be, avoiding Alessa's extremely quick barbed wire attacks, do you think?
He bats them away.
What, he shoots out little bats out of his mouth when he barks?
Are you looking? Are you looking?
Hello there, listeners out there in Radioland. Adam's just winked.
Send in your photographs of yourself winking.
I will.
I said winking.
Oh.
can Ozzy Osbourne turn into a giant bat?
Yes. Yes, he can.
All right.
Does Ozzy Osbourne giant bat have giant rabies?
Possibly, yeah. I don't think they've had an inoculation since 1967.
Does that hinder him in any way?
Not really. He's pretty much like, he's like Mr. Burns. He's got every single disease on the world, but because they're all in fine balance, he's still alive.
It's a plan, I'll give him that.
You've batted away our concerns, I would say.
Oh.
Mhm.
Any other questions for Adam?
It's a difficult one to challenge, really, isn't it?
It's a bit.
You either buy it or you don't.
Yeah, that's it. I'm getting the feeling a lot of people don't.
Let's hear Ben's plan.
Well, if you liked Adam's plan and you bought that, you're really going to buy mine.
Oh, yeah. Right, we'll see about that, won't we?
Silent Hill is a right shithole. And Christabella is not happy. I can't takes no more, she shouts, pacing the crumbling church. Her sermons about faith cleansing the darkness, useless. The monsters, getting bolder by the day. And the fog, thick as a Sean Bean American-style accent. But today, she has a new idea. If faith can't solve this problem, maybe brute force can. And what better brute force than a pair of Cockney bouncers? After a quick phone call and some favours pulled in from some bloke she knows in Southend, two hulking figures swagger into Silent Hill. Terry and Baz. Built like brick shit people made out of skin bricks. Tattooed from neck to knuckles, and with accents thick enough to knock over a pub stool that Sean Bean is sitting on practising his American-style accent. Christabella greets them at the church door. I brought you here to deal with a supernatural problem we're having, she says. Terry shrugs. Supernatural? Can't be worse than a night on the doors at Spearmint Rhino. Baz, popping a toothpick in his mouth, adds, Yeah, what's a bit of darkness, eh? We'll bash it right out the bleeding door, no worries.
You got some nerve making fun of Sean Bean's accent.
Terry and Baz waste no time. They march straight out into the fog, cracking their knuckles and exchanging glances like it were just another Friday in Bethnal Green. Oi, Baz, Terry says, scanning the murky street. What's that then? He points toward the shadowy figure of Pyramid Head, stomping down the road like a one-man wrecking crew. Baz narrows his eyes. Big fella, innit? Right, let's have a word. Without hesitation, they approach Pyramid Head, who is dragging his ridiculously oversized blade across the ground. Terry steps forward, crossing his arms. Oi, mate, you can't be roaming round here with that kind of kit. Health and safety, innit? Pyramid Head stops, towering over them, clearly confused by the lack of fear. He raises his weapon, ready to slice them in two. But Baz isn't having any of it. Put that thing down, Sunshine. We don't need no aggro around here. The monster hesitates, looking between the two bouncers, then lets out a frustrated grunt, slings his sword over his shoulder, and trudges off into the fog. Baz smirks, dusting off his hands. That's how you do it, Tell. Sorted. With Pyramid Head dealt with, finally, once and for all, the lads move on, ready to take on the next spooky oddity. That's when the darkness starts closing in, swirling them round them like a stench of shit. Terry waves his hand through the air, grimacing. God blimey, smells like me nan's pickled fadge. But before they can crack any more high-quality fadge jokes, the darkness begins forming into something solid. Creatures with twisted limbs and grotesque faces. All right, Bears, Terry says, rolling up his sleeves. Looks like we got ourselves a ruckus. The two of them launch into action, swinging fists and delivering headbutts like they were breaking up a brawl outside Stringfellows. After an hour of bashing and smashing, Terry and Baz are back at the church, printing out and laminating a No Monsters Allowed sign, which they pin to the door. From that day on, any time a demon, ghost or shadow tries to cause trouble, Terry and Baz get stuck in, until the darkness realises it can't win and leaves Silent Hill for good. As for Christabella, well, she can't help but feel a little bit proud. She never expected the Cockney Bouncers to be so effective at cleansing the darkness. But it worked. It really worked.
What motivated Christabella to get the Cockney Bouncers? Did I miss something?
She was just thinking of how she could get rid of the darkness. She realised that her sermons weren't working.
So she thought Cockney Bouncers might be the...
She thought brute force, and everyone knows the most brutal force in the whole world, the Cockney Bouncers.
The problem with bouncers is everybody just thinks that they can beat a bouncer, don't they? That's why you see all these drunk idiots getting sparked out onto the concrete. I don't think Pyramid Head would not fight the bouncers. I think he would fight, and they'd have to beat him somehow physically. I don't think he'd be intimidated to turn around, unless if you'd started this by saying she gets in Bricktop.
He's a Cockney gangster, isn't he? Didn't want a gangster.
I would have gone for Cockney gangster. Bouncer, I'm not sure about.
Well, you'd have gone for gangster. Let me just write that down in my notebook. Would have gone for Cockney gangster. But a pair of Cockney Bouncers, pretty good. It's probably a step down, to be fair, but...
I think it's only fair to ask you the same question that was asked of Adam, and that's, do you think Cockney Bouncers could survive an onslaught of very fast barbed wire from a crazy telekinesis demon?
And I'll tell you why they can, yes, because as the telekinesis demon tries to stick up their vag, they haven't got a vag.
Yeah.
Because they're both blokes.
Oh, right, yeah.
They move an inch and a half the other way, and they've got a bum hole, and it's straight up.
Oh, he's got you there.
No, he's got you.
All right, so then Ozzy Osbourne's out then. Is that what you're saying? Taking us both down, are you, you fucking fool?
Ozzy Osbourne's got demonic power. You're not just a Cockney white boy. Thinks he's going, oh, Daddy, fucking hell, Terry's got right up me arse. Fuck.
You've just taken us both down. You know that. You know you've just earned us no points there with that comment.
Ozzy Osbourne's arsehole dropped out in the shower in 1988 after doing too much blow
Yeah,
up there.
he doesn't have a bum hole. Everybody knows that. It's full of gear.
Well, everybody knows that Cockney Bouncers are so homophobic that they constantly clench their buttocks.
Oh, he's right.
And because of that, they've got the strongest butt muscles of all creatures on Earth.
When was the last time you were in London?
Ooh, 2019. How about you?
Not as long ago as that. And it's a bit more cosmopolitan these days. I think you'll find that there might be some more...
You didn't even give me a proper answer there. Tell me when.
I don't want to divulge that purely because...
Oh, it's bullshit. It's fucking bullshit.
It's because I could put myself in a precarious legal position if I divulge that information.
Absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
Write this down, other Peril pals. He hasn't got an answer for that, so I win that.
Yeah, but thanks for that plan, because it's made mine look really good.
Next, let's hear from the Super Dude.
Burn her as a witch, yells Christabella as Rose enters the church. Burn her! Burn me? Asks Rose, incredulous. That's your answer? Burn anything you're afraid of. Burn anything you can't control. She has a point. Burning a lesser didn't really work out last time. It would be madness to keep trying the same thing and expect different results. Christabella is so used to fighting for survival. She's almost forgotten how to ask for help. So used to leading, she's almost forgotten how to seek guidance. She falls to her knees and begins to pray. Dear God, please grant me the strength to fight the darkness and the wisdom to find the light. Well, 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 says God. So, Saint Christabella needs help from Stinky Robe's God. Welly, welly, welly. Mrs. Peanut wants to hang with Dirty Dingus McGee. Wellity, wellity, wellity. Christabella's knees buckle as she takes in the holy majesty of the face of God, and her neck hurts a bit from craning it because he's massive, like the Marshmallow Man. Please, Lord, a great evil has blighted this land. Yes, you. You and your whole damn town. You burned down my house. I have others, but still. They also burned a little girl, God, chimes in Rose. Grass? Christabella protests. But yes, you're right. I'm not proud, and I repent. Oh, forgive me, Lord. Oh, you. You know that's my only loophole. Ugh. Fine, I forgive you. Pyramid Head, come here a sec. Pyramid Head enters the church, slowly dragging his massive sword across the marble floor. It takes like 4 minutes for him to walk to the front where God is, and it's really awkward. God avoids eye contact with everyone and shuffles his feet. When Pyramid Head gets close enough, God leans close to speak softly to him. Okay, you can wrap things up here. We're cool? Yeah, she repented. All right, fair enough, radical. Pyramid Head leaves and takes the darkness with him. Christabel and Rose do a high five, and Silent Hill becomes a really nice little town again, and they just live there. Sean Bean's character dies somehow.
Was God played by Brian Blessed?
I was going to say, is God Bane?
Could be. Could be Tom Hardy God.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
It wasn't played by anybody, though, because it was actually God. The real God.
So God and Santa are the same?
Yeah, effectively. I suppose they are.
I did like your Simpsons chumming, but I was hoping for Christabella, this is God. Free Jones of the TV show Rock Bottom.
What I like about these plans so far is that they've slowly got less and less believable.
What do you mean?
Ozzy Osbourne is a real person. I made some general bouncers, and now you've made God a completely fictional creature.
What do you mean? God's real?
I'm not having this conversation again. We've been having this for the last 40 years, super dude.
How else do you explain?
How do you explain Easter, huh?
Yeah.
How do you explain that? Hey, how did those chocolate eggs get in the shops? Not by magic.
That's a good point.
Well, look, as Clooney says in From Dusk Till Dawn to the lapsed minister, if there is a hell and these devils are from it, there's got to be a heaven.
But that's also a work of fiction.
So is Silent Hill. God exists in Silent Hill. Nothing you can do about it.
Shit. Anyway, that's the order. Ozzy Osbourne, real.
Cockney Bouncers, real.
Cockney Bouncers do exist, but I was non-specific. God, absolute work of fiction.
Well, if there's no more questions for Super D, then I will bring us towards the light. Show me the champion of light. I'll show you the herald of darkness. Christabella remembers the old song sung to her in her younger days that told the tale of a man cursed to create and destroy worlds. They would summon him from the lake to the town of Silent Hill to fight against the demons infesting their quaint paradise. they would summon Alan Wake from his dark place spiral. The writer arrived in the strangely familiar town. Perhaps arrived back to the town? Back to the beginning. He came to a story with hopes and expectations, looking for an answer. Sometimes it would be better to live with that hope without ever knowing the full story. In a horror story, there are only victims and monsters, and the trick is not to end up as either. Trapped by the genre, we are all ripped to pieces along the way. This is not the story I hoped it to be. This story will eat us alive. This story is a monster, and monsters wear many faces. Pyramid Head, executioner of the damned souls of Toluca Prison, a twisted vision of inner turmoil made flesh. Can he be held back? Yes, but not by Wake's typewriter alone. Enter Leon S. Kennedy. Somersaulting into the churchyard with gay abandon, festive cheer, and gay hair, the erstwhile Rosa takes down Mozzers with a stunning combination of Red 9 pistol fire, roundhouse kicks, flashbang grenades, and German suplexes. He makes swift work of everybody, though Ada Wong does need to gift him a rocket launcher to dispatch. I can't say to dispatch.
I'll say it for you. You just get to that point.
Though Ada Wong does need to gift him a rocket launcher.
To dispatch.
With Pyramid Head. Where'd everybody go? Bingo, says Leon to no one in particular. The only thing left to do is for Christabella to finish off Alessa by properly setting her on fire. Loads of Zippo fuel and sundry flammables are added to the bed of the now adult young girl, and the whole affair is wrapped up in a neat little package.
Who's Alan Bleasdale?
Alan Wake.
Who's that?
He's from a computer game named Alan Wake, and also from a computer game named Alan Wake 2.
So let's get loads of other computer game characters to help out.
Yeah.
Well, Alan Wake's a special video game character because he lives in like a meta universe that's partly his own creation, and he can seep into other video games.
So he's even more made up than God?
In a way.
Maybe he is God.
Yeah.
So let's just put that at the bottom of the pile.
If anybody's convinced by this argument that we shouldn't have made up characters in this, then they should probably join a different podcast. All our characters are fictional. All of them.
Timmy Mallet's not fictional. I thought Timmy Mallet was coming. I was really excited.
So my conceit in getting the other survival horror video game characters in is that they're used to just fighting the monsters, which is what Alessa brings forth. So they just come in and think, oh shit, and just start killing them all without knowing the full story, possibly.
Yes, because they're in the church. It seems like they're hiding is quite an easy assumption to make, isn't it? And that's what what's the name does, isn't it? In the film as well, she sort of thinks there's something not right, but it's, she can't put a finger on it.
Mm.
So who brings in Leon? Is that Alan Wakes?
He writes him into the story with his magic typewriter, which makes the story up as they go along, that he's also inside.
And he carries that around with him, does he?
He's stuck in a room called the writer's room, and he's also in the story at the same time. So, yeah.
Puzzle that one out.
Exactly.
If you play it, you'll get it.
You've just blown a fuse in Turner. Look at him. He's broken. He's a broken man.
Those plans were piss-boilingly evil, weren't they? We had Adam's Ozzy Osbourne's summoning plan. Then that was followed, in swift fashion, by Ben's East End Bouncer's summoning plan, which was then also followed in swift fashion by Super Dude's God summoning plan. Then that was also followed in swift fashion by my Alan Wake, Leon S. Kennedy summoning plan. But there can only be 1, 2, 3, or 4 of us who get points on the board. So with that, if we could cast our votes at this time.
Well, it's quite a simple plan, really, but it also fit in with the style of the film, so I voted for Gaz.
Very good.
Wait, you didn't even understand that plan.
Simple plan. It's easily the least simple plan.
By a fucking country mile.
Well, since I gained that vote, I shall reveal who I voted for. And I voted for the Deus Ex Machina plan of Superdude.
Don't forget, God's also massive in this. Like, really big.
Big
like,
as the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah.
So with that, let's see who voted. Who Superdude voted for.
Well, unlike Turner, I thought the summoning of Alan Wake and Leon was complex, but I do think the right plan is to not repeat the same mistakes as the past, but to use fire and to set Alessa on fire again, and that's why I voted for Gaz. Setting Alessa on fire again is the way to go. I realised that as you said it. Why don't they just burn her again? She's still alive. She's the problem.
They didn't know that, did they?
Yeah, they did know that. Surely they did.
Rose sorts out.
I'm pretty sure they do know that it's.
They
Latin,
do
don't
know.
No, do they?
Dick.
Oh, this is a can of worms.
Oh,
She's in the hospital in the town. They know she's there.
It's down in that lift, I think, but that is still part of the town.
no one knows that. That's nonsense. Because there was no grapes and there were no flowers and there was no Lucasade. She's had no visitors.
They don't like her. That's why.
You only give Lucasade to people you like.
Yeah.
You fucking mean bastard.
Well, finally, let's hear who Ben cast his vote for.
Well, I voted for the plan that I thought was the most fictional of all the plans. And that was Super Dude's God plan. And I've drawn a picture of what I think God looks like, which is Santa.
Yeah, everybody thinks he looks like Father Christmas, doesn't he?
Do you remember, Gaz, that you and I were tasked to draw what we thought God looked like when we were in kindergarten? I drew an upside-down triangle.
That's pretty profound.
Very biblical, yeah. And Gaz drew a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
And I remember just drawing a carrot. I thought God was a carrot.
Is that why you're a vegan now? You believe that vegetables are God?
Yeah. Brings you closer to God.
Eat the carrot, for it is my flesh.
Yeah. And drink the carrot juice, for it is my blood.
They got to feed the little parishioners the carrot with their palm flat so they don't get nicked.
If I was God, that's what I'd want to be. I'd want to be an inanimate vegetable like a carrot.
You're not far off that now, just a bit gassier.
Nah, just a bit more fleshy.
As opposed to one of those animate vegetables.
Yeah.
Like the broccoli, perhaps.
Ah, it's full circle, isn't it? It's bloody full circle.
And this week's competitive round brings the scores to...
Ooh, this is it.
In first place with 20 points is your good host, me. That's Gaz.
20?
Wow.
Yeah. Second place with 16 points is reigning champion Super Dude.
Well, the gap has widened considerably.
Third place with 15 points.
Mhm.
It's Adam.
Tight in the middle.
And bringing up the rear with lucky 13 is Ben.
Slack again at the bottom.
Well, I definitely had the best plan again. Just gets ignored. Gaz comes up with some Alan Wick,
Alan Yentob plan.
Alan Yensob bullshit. Craig. Oh, I'm so sorry, Super Dude.
Oh.
Oh, he hates you.
Are you using a new detergent in your laundry because you smell fabulous?
Actually washed my dog leaf scarf. Smells so good.
I'm glad I brought it up. Super Dude was just a, they say Deus Ex Machina bullshit derivative.
In a movie where religion and faith is very important, and it's
Was it?
completely, yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
What I will say though, Ben, to be fair, of the plans when I was deciding who to vote for, yours was definitely the bottom.
Scant comfort indeed.
Pooh-wee.
I did consider Aussie for a minute because I like Aussie, but yeah. Gaz undid it with logic because I do think Aussie Bat would be torn apart by barbed wire. But you take care of the problem. Who's making the barbed wire? Burn her. Burn her good.
Burn her as a witch, specifically.
Yeah.
That will do us for another batch of evil schemes, but we shall return next Monday for another dose of podcasting with Super Dude's next cinematic selection. What shall it be, Mr. SD?
I'll give you a clue. You think I'm trapped in here with you? You're trapped in here with me. That's right, it's Panic Room.
I thought you can say Batman. Damn. Well then, there we have it, David Fincher's Panic Room. Next week. And you should join us, because it's going to be good, okay? Do it. Until then, remember, everything will be alright in the end, and if it isn't alright, then it isn't the end.
Hey! Oh, yeah, Claude. I'm an American now. Yeah.
Rose! Don't go Silent Hill.
Try and say now in an American accent.
Now.
Hey, partner, she did nout wrong.
It's bread with nout taken out.
But Mr. Draper, all bread is made with wheat flour. No. Everyone else's bread gives you cancer. Allison's is bread with now taken out.
So, my wife's in a coma. And she's been in the coma for a couple of weeks. And went during visiting hours a day ago. And the doc says to me, I think I've got a way of helping your wife get out of her coma. And I said to the doc, Doc, what do I do, Doc? What do you do? And he says, well, believe it or not, oral sex tends to work in these cases. And I said, my God. And he said, I've seen it happen. Just try it. So I said, well, okay, you're the doc. And I went into the room. And I did what I needed to do. And I came back out. The doc was waiting outside the room for me. And I said, Doc, it's just not going to work. And the doc said, why? Like I say, I've seen it work before. And I says, Doc, she's choking.
Great one.
By the way, Super Dude.
Yeah.
The wife being in the coma wasn't the funny part of that joke. You get that, don't you? That's the way I look at it.
This is the way I look at it.
And she did that.
You didn't do as funny a look as that, did you?
Mine was like this. For the listeners out there in Radioland, we're just pulling faces at each other.
And it's very, very funny. As you can tell by the laughter. Feel free to join in.
Why not send us a picture of your funny face at Diabolical Pod on all the socials? All you have to do is have a semi-plausible plan and you've won it. So come on.
Ooh, no dice.
When did plausibility come into this?
Good point. I'll write that down in my notebook.